views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hey there, welcome to the Bronx Buzz. This is BronxNet's program where we talk to writers and editors and journalists and photographers and videographers, really anybody who puts stuff out in the borough of the Bronx. And this evening we got a really interesting and different sort of show because what we're putting out is not news, is comic books. What? Comic books. And also we have an author who put out a book that is going to interest especially people who are interested in rap and hip hop music. But let's get started with H.H. German, who is a comic book creator, writer, author, artist. I don't know if we put it all into one bag. H.H., nice to have you with us.
Hello, Gary. Hello, comic book fans.
There you go. Tell me about, now let's see, I want to get it right. It is Calico, Volume 1, The Pinup Gallery. That's the comic book.
That's it.
We're going to talk about that specifically, but let's just talk about you. How did you get started? What was your interest? Did it show up one day, or were you always interested in creating comics? Give us the whole background.
Well, I love comic books. I was born here in the Bronx, and Bronx original, and comic books were seminal to my American story. I'm a first generation Dominican American, and frankly, learning the language was aided immensely by my reading of comic books. And of those, it was Spider-Man, the Hulk, the X-Men, and Batman, of course. Just wonderful vocabulary building through comic books.
I shared with you, of course, I'm a little older than you are, but many years ago, growing up in the Bronx, of course, we were really into DC comics, and Marvel comics were like the later edition.
Right.
But so that meant Superman, the Justice League, and Batman, and all that. And my parents were concerned because I wasn't really reading books, but I was reading comic books. And while, of course, English is my first language, I also found it was easy to absorb because it had the pictures right there.
Right.
And for somebody learning the language, I guess that would be the help, right?
Absolutely. The visual medium and aided by just truly compelling and action-packed vocabulary.
Were you an artist? Like, did you always say, hey, I could draw one of them? Or did you kind of like say one day, maybe I ought to try?
Right. So as a kid, I always had a pencil, crayons in my hand. I was very creative. So I was very fortunate to have parents that cultivated that creativity. So yes, I was always drawing, doodling, cartooning. Yeah.
And did you say, I'm sorry, we're going to go as deep into this as we can. Did you say to yourself, I don't know, at the age of 10, 12, 14, I'm going to be a comic book creator one day? Or did you realize, like, you know what? Maybe I ought to put this to comic books.
Well, there was no thinking. I was just doing. I remember creating comic books as a kid. My upbringing was not only here in the Bronx, but also in the Dominican Republic. So I grew up in the North Bronx, Italian neighborhood called Pelham Bay, back in the 80s. And it was very different from the Dominican Republic, where I grew up in the North as well, in the Dominican Republic, in the Ciudad region. And in both places, I was drawing comic books, and it's something that I didn't really think about, but I was doing it, and always share it with the kids, and both audiences approved.
I hate to go here, but we got to go here as we get out of the pandemic, and young people in schools need things to do to re-engage them because they've been so distracted and so turned off by staring at a screen. Isn't it a good idea for us to teach these kinds of things because it gives kids a chance to fantasize, to express? And then I guess I have to ask tangentially, is that also something you got through school, or was it extracurricular?
Well, Gary, that's a great point. Here we're in the middle of this malady, this enormous pandemic situation. It's just terrible. It's caused so much problem to the family unit. So growing up in a sort of poor area in the Dominican Republic, when I was there, we had this, I wouldn't say in terms of the death rate, but in terms of the social impact, absolutely similar types of things, because we would have days-long power outages on a regular basis.
Oh.
We couldn't, in other words, we couldn't enjoy the everyday thing conveniences that people have. So we would have to invent or create things for us to keep ourselves busy, right? As
Wow.
kids. So we had these sort of, community level engagements, which involve, doing things like the arts, crafts, gaming outside. So yeah, I mean, this is why it's so important to the audience out there. Funding the arts is so important.
It's got to happen.
You got to have it.
Yeah, and right now more than ever before. Okay, so you and I will do a quick hand raising. You can be the new chancellor of the schools. Let's get this done. Let's fund it. And we'll make it happen. Anyway, let's really talk about the new comic book. I got a chance to look through it. Calico, Volume 1, the Pinup Gallery. Talk to me about the creation of this. The theory, which I know about, and I'm sure you're going to talk about, is fascinating and interesting. And then, of course, it's translated into a very visual, strong superhero type character. So let's go through the creation of it.
Right. So this is an idea I had as early as 2009. I've always been working in marketing and technology. Okay, and I've written lots of different articles, mostly business to technology. And so on the side, I sort of wrote some things for myself, and of course, the comic book background I had, all the way from childhood into teens. And I got this idea back again in 2009 for this animal lover, this guy that really was passionate about animals, and he just was fed up with the typical ways to fight animal abuse and fight for animal rights, the protests, the hand holding and the song singing and all that stuff. That wasn't doing it for him. So I started putting pen to paper, and this guy's his sort of vantage to solving the problem is strikingly different to the way most people were going about this. And it turned into a pretty interesting few paragraphs. And I just left it there. And early in the pandemic, a friend of mine got a book deal. And we had a little socially distanced celebration in the park, and to celebrate. And she said, hey, why don't you get involved in some creative stuff now that we're all shut down here in quarantine? And I said, I have this idea that I sort of started back in the day. So I started writing it as a novel back in this was May of last year, 2020. Started writing it as a novel. So you do your outline and you start filling in chapters. So wait a minute. So I stopped myself. I said, this protagonist is kind of like a comic book character. I wonder if I start writing it as a comic book, see how that goes. Sure enough, I spent a couple of days on it. It definitely lends itself great to the medium, comic books. And the first thing I did, the first thing I said was, well, let me call my alma mater, School of Visual Arts in the city, SVA, and see if I can get, some cartoon, illustration guys to help me out with this, or gals. And I did a little research. Turns out one of the legendary artists in comic books, Klaus Janson, is on the faculty there. And
Wow.
This man was, he's responsible for legendary titles. The Dark Knight Returns. He worked with Frank Miller. I mean,
Right.
on Daredevil.
And so you engaged him in this process.
Reached out to him, and of course, this man's a legend. I wasn't expecting to hear from him or maybe at all. A week later, I'm at a barbecue in Brooklyn. I get an email from Klaus Janson. Hey, let's chit chat about this. This, sounds pretty good. And the next day we were talking for a half hour. And he's given me guidance ever since. It's wonderful.
So, what is there a release of it? Has it been released? Is it going to be released? How do people get it? And I will tell you the visuals are powerful. Let's put it that way. And I have to tell you, even just reading the theme, and the materials that you had sent, the notion that somebody is against bullies and all that, this is all very contemporary stuff. I mean, this is where it translates in a young person's mind, can maybe learn something. And it's a fantastical sort of thing, but this is where you move us all ahead, I suppose.
Right. We, Javier Orbic, the wonderful artist, and Garnabiel, really tag teaming on the cover and interior pages to, aid the concept of Calico. And we sort of formed that team to tell this story. It's a very important story, as you said. It's a very unique way to deliver this message. Typically we're hearing it in commercials. We're seeing protests and activism, but a character that personifies the fight against animal abuse. This is the first time that's happened. So, we're very proud. When I sit down and I write these issues, there's a tremendous sense of pride that takes over me when I write these stories. And it's really satisfying to attack this problem this way. And I know that there's a huge audience for it.
Well, I was going to, I'm always thinking about Bronx kids, and, we've already, alluded to the things that they've been through. But, they know in the back of their head, because they see it in front of them. They see it all the time about bullies. And even if the target, maybe they are animal rights people or not, but they get the sense this isn't the way to be. And, it stirs up the right sense of value, I think, I hope.
Right. Here's the thing, Gary. So this generation and the millennials and Generation ZY, they're not used to receiving the kind of messages that Gen X and up with these sugar-coated sort of,
that's right,
little flowers and rainbows about whether it's drugs or crime, alcohol. We got these PSA announcements that were very sugar-coated. Okay. Yeah. So we
only have about a minute, so I want to make sure that we
sure.
And what you're saying is totally true. So right. How do people ingest?
We're hitting them with gut punches right to the solar plexus. We're not going or tippy-toeing around. Calico does not tippy-toe. He goes right through the front.
And how do you get it? You just look it up on the web, or what do you do?
StigmaComics.com. We do have a Kickstarter that's going to end in about a day or two. So you can go to Kickstarter, type in "Here Comes Calico," but go to StigmaComics.com and support us that way. You're going to love this comic book.
Sigma Comics. And you engaged them. They came to you. You went to them and said, "I got this product."
Well, that's our company.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. That's where you get.
This is the new world. You don't have to call up Mr. DC and say, "Hey, could you publish my comic?" We do it ourselves. Listen, H.H. German, congratulations on the comic. As things develop, we want to have you back. And really, Bronxites doing great work like this. That's what BronxNet Television is about. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. H.H. German, the comic book is Calico, Volume 1. Make sure you check it out. There's going to be 8, right? 8.
That's right. Thank you, comic book fans. StigmaComics.com.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk hip hop, and we're going to talk to an author who is talking about Bronx roots, just like we just did. We'll be right back.
We know that people are dealing with the health crisis, but there's also a lot of food insecurity.
We're giving out healthy food options, and that's what's key here.
If you're a senior, you have a disability, they'll actually deliver meals to you.
The residents are anxious, they're worried, they're scared, they want to be tested.
When things were happening in our community and we couldn't get the help.
There's almost a presumption of criminality that attaches to your skin color.
The site will prioritize those who are at highest risk in the population.
If you feel symptoms and you'd like to visit one of these COVID-19 testing sites here in the Bronx, you may call the State Health Department's hotline.
Important to note about this site is no reservations are needed. This is a walk-in clinic.
A lot of us are out of work and looking for something to do.
We have the machinery and the skills to make large scales of these masks and gowns.
Take care of your people. It's going to go way further than we actually can understand.
Right now, employees like myself are just adjusting to the new reality.
Reporting from BronxNet, this is Candace.
Okay, back with you on the Bronx Buzz. I told you we're going to have a treat today. Every time we're on the Bronx Buzz, it's a treat, but this is a real treat. Got to get the lighting right so you could see 50 rappers who changed the world. And of course, we in the Bronx know about changing the world with our music. We've done it, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, maybe most pronounced with hip hop. And let's say good evening to the author of the book, Candice McDuffie. Nice to have you with us so much, Ms. McDuffie.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Tell me a little bit about you and the music of hip hop. Where did you grow up? Why did it presumably mean so much to you that you decided to put out this publication?
I was raised in Albany, New York, but I'm originally from Harlem, New York. So growing up, I had brothers who always would play hip hop music, and Biggie was really big in my household, and I grew up to be a music journalist. So I cover a lot of different genres, right? I do folk, I do pop, I do indie, but I do rap because I have to. And the message of it is so important, so political, so urgent. It's always been that way. So doing this book, when I was approached to do the book in 2019, it felt natural. And it was a great opportunity to talk about the power of hip hop music.
We've had a number of dialogues over the years on BronxNet and on this program and another program I have called Bronx Talk about how over a course of time, the root of hip hop was misunderstood and it turned into a gangster thing. And then it was related by the media to violence and misogyny and all this kind of stuff that really, and when I talked to the original hip hop creators, they were like, that's not what this was about. And you just talked about the message. What is the message, which of course is an ironic thing to say considering the song, The Message, but what is the message that you have in your mind about this music and this culture?
I think it's about the Black experience and it being authentic. So I think hip hop has transformed from being super political and there was gangster rap, but all hip hop does is hold a mirror up to America, right? I feel like the capitalism, the misogyny, the sexism, the violence, that's America for you, right? It's just in music form. So I feel like hip hop has always embodied not just the Black experience, the American experience through the Black perspective.
That's a fascinating point of view, and I sincerely appreciate it. I think of a lot of the word poetry that has come out of it. To me, it opened up an avenue of expression, especially for young people, that didn't exist before. Whereas maybe there were things on their mind, things that they would want to say even in rhythm, that they would never have said before. And all of a sudden, this new music came out, and it was like, wow, this is our music. This is my chance to have my say. You're along with me on this?
I am.
Let's talk a little bit about the book. Now, the idea, so I'm going to flip through it for people.
Thank you.
That's okay. We want people to enjoy it. There are individual bios of all different hip hop people. You can see Busta Rhymes there, NWA. It's written in a way that I got to say that young people would appreciate, right? Can absorb, right?
Yeah, I think this book's primary purpose is to be an educational tool, to educate young, hip hop fans who might not know the history, who might not know the culture and its origins really deep. So I feel like it was written in a way so it's easy to digest, it's factually accurate, and it's also super interesting facts, I feel like, for each artist. The accolades, the acclaim, the platinum records, the tours, the record sales, so I think it's done to educate young people.
You talk about young people. You're a school teacher. Listen, especially now when the kids we were just talking about it on the last segment on the program, where kids have just, they've been staring at screens for a year, and it's just not the way to develop and educate children. We all know that. This is the kind of thing that can bring them back out, just like hip hop did originally for Bronx kids, and then of course about young people all over the world.
Absolutely, and I think with the political climate, of last year, with the Black Lives Matter protests and George Floyd's murder, we have an opportunity to kind of address race in a way we haven't done before. And I feel like hip hop has been talking about things like police brutality and violence against them, racism, and how it's been institutionalized. And I think being able to look at our climate now and see how so in your face it is, and to be able to listen to these artists, they can make the connection for themselves. And I think this book just aids in that.
There's another aspect of that I must bring up, and we've alleged or related to it throughout this conversation, and that's the notion of self-identity. Is that your identity, who you are, is okay, and this is your music, your culture. And it's not just stuff you hear on the radio, or you hear from, somebody's playing it loud on a car that passes by. This is who you are. This is your music and your culture. I'm curious, I don't know if you know anything about it, but we have a temporary hip hop museum here in the Bronx, and we're going to have a permanent hip hop museum. Seems to me this would be, and they of course have tremendous educational programs, bringing Bronx kids through it, all kids through it. I'm just curious, for you, this gets a stamp of approval, doesn't it? I mean, this is what it is. This is saying, this is who we are. This is our culture, right?
Absolutely. There's so many facets to hip hop, not just music, but to writing, right? English language, the way we express ourselves verbally. You have fashion. There's so many ways hip hop affects us just in our everyday existence. So I think having museums that kind of commemorate its importance is super dope, and I feel like in a way it's long overdue. So I'm super excited for that.
You know what? When I know you're not in New York City right now, if you come down and visit the museum, I want you to call me and we'll go through it together. That would be,
I cannot wait.
That would be a treat. There's actually a lot of people in the Bronx that can't wait. I mean, it's going to take a while because it's going to be part of a housing project that's going up and all that kind of thing. Let's talk a little bit again about the book, 50 Rappers Who Changed the World by Candace McDuffie. You have a favorite? Was there a specific part of this that was a labor of love for you? Or was it all just, I'm going to do, that kind of thing?
I love Jay-Z. So being able to talk about, not just his endeavors in music, but just as a businessman was super fascinating to me and really exciting. Lil' Kim too, talking about how she pushed the boundaries of sexuality. I thought it was fun to include, modern day female rappers like Megan Thee Stallion, like Cardi B, who are pushing the envelope in 2021 now and taking hip hop in a different direction. I think it's become more acceptable for females to pick up the mic and rap about whatever they want. So being able to celebrate them in real time too is really important to me.
You led right into my next question. I guess it was kind of a setup. Let's talk about women in hip hop. Originally, and this goes back to what I was originally talking about that it was somewhat misunderstood. But women in this music and in this culture are emerging now more than ever, and maybe you, to some degree, embody that this is who we are, and we're going to stand up and do what we believe in.
Absolutely. I think with the invention of social media, it's easier now to get that attention. You can go viral, you can get a record deal. You can do the avenue of, like Cardi B, being a stripper turned social media star, turned reality star, turned rap star. So I think the avenues are just there. They allow more women to come through in a big mainstream visible way.
I'm trying to figure out the best way to ask you this question. I want to look crystal ball to the future a little bit. And, I don't know if, as I mentioned to you before the show, I've interviewed DJ Kool Herc, and, he talked very directly about that moment, which I still remember, about when, he came up kind of with this idea. Nobody really, as much as they may have said, gee, we think this is the next big thing, nobody really envisioned how large it would be, the fact that it would, bleed into culture. I mean, I see to this day, I see young people creating shirts and going into business and creating, I mean, that's all part of this thing. Do you have a crystal ball look at where we're going eventually, or of course, just let the artists be artists, and we all follow.
Right, super important. I think there's going to be a lot more experimentation in terms of music. I think Kanye doing a gospel album, people wouldn't expect that from him. You have a lot of the young rappers now, doing kind of like emo rap, almost like the singing and the screaming with the rapping, and You know, the image is more androgynous, right? It's Lil Uzi wearing a skirt. It's, you know, rappers having crazy hair, you know, the face tattoos. It's changing all the time. And I think that's why it's so important. It has its pulse on the next cultural trend. And I think no one knows where that's going to be. And that's such an important part of hip hop music and culture as a whole.
Yeah, that is the beauty of it. You know, listen, I can't claim to be in the culture. I mean, it's not really, you know, what I do, other than I'm a Bronxite and really care about our culture. But when I see rappers, let's say on Saturday Night Live, as opposed to just singing the song, now there's a whole set. There's a whole kind of world that the music is encased in. My feeling is that it's going to move in that direction, that not only will it be the words and the music, but much more of full show visual, almost like a theater presentation than ever before. That's my own belief, mostly just from, you know, what I see kind of in general media, I thought. So anyway, let's wrap it up. That's funny.
I see what you did there. I like it.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Do you rap? Do you do any, or you're really a fan and journalist?
I'm a fan and journalist, and I used to teach poetry. I still do creative writing workshops, so I teach writing. So I think that interconnects. And
you're hearing young people use this medium as much as they can, right? I mean, I see it all the time. They're completely inspired by it.
Absolutely. And I think to just be reaffirmed that rap is poetry, you know, rap is lyrical, rap has that element of language to it that's so strong. You know, we can study the great poets. We could also study, you know, Drake if you want to, like having that door be open, they get so excited by it. So
I love, by the way, we got to get out of here. I love, by the way, your idea that, well, they're branching into other, maybe more traditional forms of music. Boy, that is win-win-win as far as I'm concerned. This is win-win-win, ladies and gentlemen. 50 rappers who changed the world. Candace McDuffie, pick it up. Make sure the kids get to read it, because it's them. It's in the Bronx. It's our culture. It's our lives. It's our young people's lives. It's their opportunity to express themselves. And Candace, you're the best. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun.
And yeah, we'll have you back. Write something else, do more, and we'll bring you back. And I'm
very
very serious. When that museum opens, you and me, we're going to go through together. That would be so cool.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thank you so
much.
Thank
you so much. Folks, what a great show tonight. And we have a great show every week. So we'll see you then next week. Have a good night. Thanks.